everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my labor and delivery story for baby Kai. He was born a week ago, so I just made my 1 week postpartum update. So if you haven't seen that, I will link it down below. But if you're interested in what happened in my labor and delivery, then please just keep watching. Okay, so my labor and delivery story. It kind of started a week ago from today. I went in to go see my OB for my 39-week checkup. And if you've seen my previous updates, I was pretty dilated early on in my pregnancy. At 36 weeks, I think I was 3. At 37 weeks, I was 5 centimeters dilated. So when I went to this appointment, my doctor measured again, and I was measuring 6 centimeters dilated and 80% of face. And I was kind of blown away by that. I didn't think it was possible for me to be that dilated and not be in labor, but I was not. So after talking with my doctor for a little bit, she did do a membrane strip at that time. But after talking to her for a little bit, I was kind of getting anxious to figure out what I could do, just because I knew school was starting soon, and some of my family members were leaving out of town, and I didn't want them to miss it. But after talking to her, she started telling me what I needed to do if for some reason baby came while I was at home. She was very concerned about baby coming super quickly once labor did get started. And once she said that, I was kind of nervous, and so I asked her if there was any other options, like could she give me some kind of cervix softener, or could she break my water? I was not wanting to really be induced, but if they could break my water and that could get labor started. I really wasn't wanting to have a baby at home, and so she ended up calling the hospital. She told me the possibility of me getting in the next couple days would probably work out. So she called the hospital, and the hospital, a couple of the nurses had recognized my name because I had been in the like a couple of days before with false labor, and so they said they had enough room that day. So I went in. The doctor said, go home, pack your bags, you know, get your kids, and go to the hospital. So we that was at like 9 o'clock in the morning. So I came back home, picked up my daughter from school, packed up our bags, packed up snacks and movies for the kids, because all my kids did come to the hospital with me. We got there right around, I think, 12 o'clock. So we showed up to the hospital. We did the whole, like, if you've been there for to the hospital for a baby, they do this a long process just to get you in, registered, not registered, but like signed in at like the front desk, and then they took me to the back pretty quickly. The nurse that I had talked with me for a while, just asking a lot of different questions about my health, about my previous pregnancies, and then also what my birth plan was and what my birth plan wishes were. And I really appreciated that. She gave me, you know, more than enough time to tell her what I was worried about, what I was nervous about, and things that I really wanted to have happen in my labor and delivery. And I so appreciate her doing that and taking the time to do that and having the time to do that when I got to the hospital, because in my past labor and deliveries, I haven't had that much time once I've gotten to the hospital. I'm usually in so much pain that I have never had a conversation like that with the nurse. So she kind of relayed a lot of that information to the doctor. So it was about 2.5 hours before the doctor came in to break my water. According to the doctor, they had all this room and they weren't super busy, and as soon as I came in, they had a bunch of women come in labor, and she delivered 2 babies my doctor delivered 2 babies while I was in the waiting room, or in my room, waiting for her to come break my water. So at 2:30, she broke my waters, which was a very uncomfortable feeling to be leaking. I forgot what it was like. I mean, I've had my water break before, but boy was it so uncomfortable. So after she broke my water, I just walked around the hospital trying to get contractions going, but they didn't really start. I was thinking they would kick in at any moment, just from the water leaking. I had a couple here and there, but they were more like Braxton Hicks. They weren't very painful. So at 5 o'clock, they decided to start Pitocin. And I really didn't want to have Pitocin, which is just a hormone. It's the same hormone your body releases to stimulate contractions, but it's obviously a drug, and they use it. It's like an artificial way of starting labor. So she gave me some of that, and within like 5 minutes, I had my first real contraction. And one that I was like, oh yeah, that was a good one. But they didn't really get painful. I kind of tried to fall asleep at that time. I hadn't eaten since we had come to the hospital. We had grabbed like breakfast burritos on our way to the hospital, but I hadn't eaten since 11 something. And I was getting hungry and I was getting tired, so I thought, I'm just, you know, just in case I end up laboring through the night. It's a done deal when your water's broken. I knew I was going to have the baby, but I wanted to have the energy I needed. And so I like closed my eyes and I tried to fall asleep in between contractions. Mind you, this whole time my family is inside the room. There's about 10 people in the room, including my kids, my sister, my boyfriend, my dad, my mom, and they're watching Mr. Incredible. So I'm just kind of like tuning all of that out, and I'm just kind of like relaxing and trying to fall asleep. And that lasted about an hour. The contractions kind of were, you know, 5 minutes apart-ish. Getting kind of strong, probably a 4 or 5 in pain, but nothing like serious, you know, nothing that was like taking my breath away or causing me to like, you know, buckle over in pain. So right around 6 o'clock, everything changed. Right at like 6, I think, like when I look back at like the video that I have, it was like 6:07, where I was laying on my side trying to fall asleep, and I got a contraction that was extremely strong, and I felt the baby kind of move down and shift down. So I turned over and I got over in like a child's pose position, and I started having some serious contractions. Extremely painful. It definitely went from like a 3 to like an 8 between contractions, and as soon as I had that strong contraction, I could legitimately feel the baby moving down into my butt area. If you've had a baby naturally, you know what it feels like. The baby kind of shifts down towards your back end, and you kind of feel like you need to poop. And so I kind of started getting that feeling really, really quickly. And I told the nurse, I think I need to poop. And she's like, I don't think so. But she went ahead and checked me, because it's kind of a sign that baby's moving down. And I was at a 7, and that I was at 6:07, something like that. And then after she let me get up and I went to the bathroom, and I had another contraction on the actual toilet, and at that point they were extremely painful. I moved my way like back out of the bathroom, and I sat on a birthing ball for a while. And each contraction from that moment on, from like 7:07 on, were extremely strong. She ended up checking me again at about 6:25, and I was at 6:25, probably like 6:15, and I was at a 8. And so at that point, she had already set up the table. She called the doctor in, and the doctor was sitting there with me and kind of talking me through them. But the doctor came and sat with me, and I had a couple more strong contractions after that, and kind of started going through transition. Usually when I start going through transition, I start crying. It's a sign that like the pain is peaking, being, you know, the most painful they were going to be, and I start to kind of get the shakes every time I start going through transition as well. And so yeah, that started happening, and then shortly after, probably 6:35, she checked me. I was 10 centimeters dilated. She told me to get ready to push, and as always, right before I get ready to push, there's just like this overwhelming, I don't want to do this is gonna hurt feeling. And she said whenever I felt a contraction to push, so I had probably about a 2-minute break. So after that, I had about a 2-minute break, and started pushing on my very first contraction, my very first push. He crowned and he came out. and super healthy. He started crying as soon as he came out. I was really fortunate at that hospital. I found out they do delayed cord clamping, which means when they put the baby on your stomach, they wait until the blood inside the cord has completely quit running or quit circulating before they cut the cord, which I really appreciated, and kind of made me more relaxed, just because with my last child I did hemorrhage, and it was kind of a scary experience. So I was so glad when that went really well. My placenta came out shortly after that, and then I did tummy time with baby for an hour right after the baby's born. They put the baby on your chest, and they let baby stay there for an hour before taking the baby away and doing any type of like measuring, weighing, shots, or anything like that. The baby stays on your chest. So it went really well. So overall, my whole like labor and delivery was like an hour and 30 minutes, which is the fastest by far that I've had, which was kind of what the doctor anticipated. I didn't want to have Pitocin, but I'm so incredibly glad that's how it went, because if I would have went into labor at home, I probably wouldn't have gone in until the contractions got strong. And by the time the contractions got strong, I had less than 30 minutes between strong contractions and baby coming out, and I would not have made it to the hospital. So I am so grateful I ended up going to the hospital, and that's what my doctor suggested. And the doctor that delivered the baby, she was not my actual OB, but she was amazing, and she did an awesome job and was very reassuring and very laid back and calm, and did everything I needed her to do. So I'm super happy with how my labor and delivery went, and how I even felt afterwards. I think right after he had laid on my chest, the doctor or nurses had taken him away to start doing the weighing process, and I felt so good afterwards that I like got up and I went to go like walk over to the place where they were like changing him and putting a diaper on him and stuff, and I was like, oh wait, I can't get up, I'm bleeding. And the nurse is like, no, sit down. But I felt amazing. 45 minutes after having the baby, I felt like I could get up and go walk around. I felt so good. And that's the way like my first two labor and deliveries kind of went, but my third one I hemorrhaged, and it was a completely different experience, and I was worried about that this time. So he was also born during the day, and most of my babies were born like in the early morning, which means I labored all night. So it overall was like the best labor and delivery experience I could have had or asked for. But yeah, so that is it for my labor and delivery story. I'm getting super hot, so I'm gonna quit filming. If you have any questions, or if you'd like to hear my labor and delivery stories for my other children, please comment down below. And thank you everyone who has subscribed to my channel, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. I would love to have you as a subscriber. And that will be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and have a good day.